Give them all a minute to sit down.
I'm looking forward to
I'm going to call to order the impacts of minimum wage workshop. Mr. Brown. I'm going to ask Mr. Superintendent to take over from here with the workshop. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. The purpose of this workshop is to allow our CFO, Ms. Sarah Cox, to discuss and review our anticipated impacts of a minimum wage increase that was passed last year by state legislature. Obviously in the workshop we can talk, vet, discuss ideas, just can't take any approved voted actions during these workshops. These workshops are intended to further our knowledge, so please feel free to ask questions of anything that you see along the lines of this as we go through. So with that in mind, Ms. Cox has prepared a PowerPoint presentation that I believe you forwarded out as well, right? So everybody has that, and so she has it on the screen. Mr. Mr. Adams is live streaming as well, so other folks can follow along at home. So with that in mind, Ms. Cox.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm excited to share this presentation with you. It's been a lot of analysis of the numbers, so we'll get right to it. In November of 2020, the Florida voters passed to increase minimum wage. Each year it's going to go up by $1 until it reaches $15 per hour in 2026. We went to $10 per hour this fiscal year. That was a minimal impact. It really just affected like sub-teachers, and it was a very small increase for them. So nearly all district salary schedules are going to be impacted though. HESPA, our non-instructional bargaining, even the subs. Now as we go forward each year, that increase is just going to get more and more, but indirectly it also affects our other salary schedules because we want to try to mitigate any salary compression. What's important to note on this slide is that after 2026, the language that was on the ballot was after that, future annual adjustments will be based on inflation. So who knows what that's going to mean. So as we go through this presentation, just things to keep in mind is that there will be an organic mitigation of costs as we can hopefully provide salary increases every year. The data that we're looking at is just based on data right now. I mean, it could change by the day as we have new hires, people retiring, etc. And this data does not include overtime costs. So that's important to keep in mind too. This is just based on the full-time positions we have and the positions that will be impacted by the minimum wage increase. So we'll start out with HESPA, and this includes a visual of the salary schedule just so you can see, a good 30% of the salary schedule is going to be directly impacted by minimum wage. All the non-highlighted areas are the areas of concern to not compress salaries in those areas. We've already seen that with our teachers through the teacher salary increase allocation. The salaries getting compressed there. And now we're going to start to see that, unfortunately, on the support side of things. So this HESPA is our biggest cost to comply with minimum wage. We're looking at about a total of $1.2 million. Almost $800,000 of that is going to be in the general fund, and you can just kind of see each year how that increases and increases. The bulk of these positions are really paras, custodians, clerk typists. We have a lot of those folks, so they're the ones who are really going to see a benefit from this. We also have our transportation. There's nobody below $11 an hour currently, so you see the cost is $0 for fiscal year 23, but again, we have to just consider salary compression, and if everybody else, paras are going to $11 an hour, where do we want to put our bus drivers? And this salary schedule that you see, this isn't the salary schedule for transportation without health insurance. There's a separate salary schedule that starts at $17 per hour. But again, if this salary schedule is going up, then we must also look at that other one. And then we have our non-instructional, non-bargaining. The impact next fiscal year is very minimal. We don't really have a lot of positions on those pay levels, but then the cost is going to go up a little bit each year, estimating about $83,000. Now, subs and hourly staff, this is going to be quite a bit of An expense, you know, we have a lot of subs, PSPs, PSTs, PSTs, those type of things, not PSPs because they follow the parity. But those are factored into here, and you can see we'll have a small hit from the substitute salary schedule as well. So when we look at that in total, you know, here's a breakout by year for you, and you can see each year as it goes on, we're increasing until it gets to about $400,000 in the final year. Grand total estimated expense to comply with minimum wage of over $1.5 million. $1.1 million will be in the general fund, so that other $400,000 is going to be like grant funds that have paras and fund those type of positions. ESSER is a big one. We fund a lot of paras and custodians. So that's where that other $400,000 would be coming from. The costs that are presented to you do include benefits, which are just FRS and FICA, and this is the current FRS rate. We know that's going to go up every year as well. So, what are our strategies and some financial considerations? You know, one big thing with state CFOs is the state going to help fund this? Will they develop some type of compression allocation in the FEFP to help fund this? That's what we're all hopeful for, but we're not really counting on it. We would love to see it, but we don't know that the state's going to go that far with it. So really our strategy, you know, we rely on our fund balance. We've got to grow and protect that, and we have a pretty sound financial strategy through recuperating money out of the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 grants to restore dollars to our fund balance. It's really going to help us sustain not only this, but other financial endeavors long term. And then we must be cost cautious, not because of minimum wage, but in everything we do, we've got to be cost cautious, and really just stick to the necessities to be the most efficient and effective way that we can. And then creative cost cutting. This would be, you know, a last resort type of strategy, but nevertheless, it's on the table. So the steps going forward, the costs that are presented to you, these are the costs that we anticipate at a minimum. You know, we know things are going to constantly change, and the fact that overtime is not even included in here, we know that these costs will be at a minimum what we need to be prepared for. We've got to strategize our implementation. We know just not complying annually with the increases coming our way, but especially with salary compression, we've got to try to mitigate that in the best way we can. The finance staff is working on like a job market analysis right now to kind of help with the salary compression mitigation and what that could look like. You know, we'll have to start bargaining with HESPA a little earlier. We would like to implement the new minimum wages by July 1, just for logistical and other reasons. So you might see, you know, bargaining contracts coming to you a little sooner than the typical November, December time frame. And then same with the salary schedules. I mean, those will be coming to you earlier than you would normally see them. And then we just continue to analyze the financial impacts because, you know, anytime you snapshot the data, it's going to change. So every year, we're just going to have to constantly relook at, okay, you know, now what's the picture looking like? So that's all I put together for you. Do you have any questions or comments?
Are you talking about salary compression? How do you?
So salary compression is going to be, you know, just everybody's, we have all these jobs, but everybody's making a similar pay.
Mr. Semberdak, I'll help you as well. A good example is what is happening with our teacher salaries. The state has poured a lot of money in the beginning teacher salaries.
Right.
They gave us no money for the upper level teachers. And so the beginning level teacher now, the salary is up to what we have teachers that are making 11 and 12 years that have been with us. They're making the same pay. And so the compression has been at the bottom and that causes a lot of issues. We have, and it's a serious issue. You've been here 12 years.
Sure, yes.
Somebody starts making the same salary you're making, that just is not right. However, it is the gravity of where we are. It's the situation that we've been thrust into by these laws and by the statutory things that are happening.
PST. It's an acronym for
Professional substitute teacher.
role and PSV.
A PSC is a professional sub-para.
Got it. Thank you.
When you talk about being cost cautious, what do you have, what, is there like a plan or something in place to like a cost benefit analysis on our major expenditures, or how does that play into, or what's your plan to be cost cautious?
So it is analyzing return on investment on major things that we're investing in. Are we there yet? No. But that is one thing we want to start looking at, and I think you'll see that in our strategic plan. That's one of the fiscal stewardship objectives. So we do, because we want to make sure, if we're spending, I'm just going to throw an example out there, $300,000 on a piece of software, curriculum software, are we really getting the bang for the buck? Knowing that student achievement isn't just based on software. But so it will turn into things like that. But right now, it's really just educating people on their budgets, having them truly ask, is this necessary? Do I really need this? We're coming up on year ends really quickly, and people spend their money, use it or lose it. We're really encouraging not to do that, because those funds could be rolled over and used for these bigger things, like not compressing salaries for teachers and all staff. So those are the targets right now on that.
And if I may add as well, one of the things that we're doing in addition to that is Ms. Cox is doing a great job of departments and principals. Toward the end of the year, they start looking at, here's how much money I have left, and here's the thing, let me what can I go get? So what we're trying to do is kind of morph the way of thinking of, look, if you need that for education, we don't want to stop you from buying it. But if you don't need it and you're just getting it because you have extra money, those funds spread across all departments and all schools add up to quite a bit of money. And so we're getting everybody on board into the culture of it's taxpayer money. These are savings that we need to do so that we can afford raises that are coming and raises that are going to be needed in the future, as well as other expenditures from the district. So far, we've gotten great response back. It's a continual process, but the new education, if you will, or finances that Ms. Cox is bringing to the table is working phenomenally. That's a good question, and it's an ongoing effort, and we're making some good headway.
I mean, I know, and I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time, but I just know from where we've come from, there was a seeming lack of structure in a lot of areas, and so I want to, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that we're moving towards tightening that up. And I saw a commercial for an app that was talking about you sign for this app and it shows you all the bills that you all these recurring bills that you're paying for. And I was thinking, oh man, wish we could get that app for the district. We just plug in our email address and it tells us everything that we've got out there, and helps you figure out what you can, what's working for kids and what's not. Because if it's not effective, then we're wasting kids' time too, and teachers' time. So.
No. I looked at bills being paid this month. There was 100 pages. I guess you have to look at it and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much money we put out I see salaries and other things, but there's so many other things. And I'm not saying we don't need them. Yeah. I was just amazed that our expenses in a month here.
Yeah. It's a big business. We run a big business.
It makes me want to get in the copier business. Copier business. But it is. It's the second largest employer in Hendry County. It is big business. So, just making sure that we're spending them right and getting our ROI is important. I'm encouraged by the presentation today, and I feel like I have a better grasp of what it's going to look like, potentially look back like, and I appreciate you compiling it.
This will be a
easy to understand.
Conversation we'll have every year as we move forward, just so we can kind of relook at what it looks like, how we may have tried to mitigate some of the costs, and our next steps.
And how are you going to process them? You sit down with the superintendent, you and other people. How do you mitigate some of those expenses?
It's definitely
I'm amazed. I didn't see, Joanne said, we don't need this, or we don't need this in this 100 pages.
Yeah, we're not to that point yet, as we just kind of in the day-to-day business, especially in finances, we see all those bills, we see purchase orders coming through. So, of course, we'll question things that we see look odd, or, so it's just kind of the day-to-day activities, and then meeting with leadership on just the mitigation and where we're going piece. Getting all the ideas from leadership, meeting with the union, trying to make sure we just have a targeted approach and everybody's buying into the direction we're moving.
Can I
agree. I feel much more comfortable. Your presentations are just wonderful. Thank you. Very informative.
Well, I will just add that again, that we're laying the groundwork for what's coming, and we wanted y'all to see it. We don't have all the answers yet. We don't know what's going to happen. We're hopeful that the state will fund it. The other thing that's being kicked around that I have heard through some of the channels is that the state may exempt schools from having to pay the minimum wage impact altogether. So we don't know that yet. But if you're asking me, that would be crazy for us not, because
I was going to say they're going to have more.
yeah, right. We're competing with other entities that will pay it, and then it'll make it even more difficult. And so we're going to have to face this, even if they do exempt us from it. And so how we get there, we don't have the answer to that yet. We're just making sure that y'all see what we see, and that no one's caught off guard, as we go forward with it. And the other impact is, again, fighting the compression. It's going to be hard for us not to be able to do something for the compression for what happens, because it's hard. It is very challenging to a set individual to take a job, that making, to keep a job. You've been here, in some cases, 15, 20 years, and people are going to start out making what you're making. And so we're not going to be able to sustain that. So the real cost is also going to be in how do we mitigate that, by raising everyone up. And so it's not going to be pleasant, but it's going to be costly. So how we get there is what we don't know yet.
But I feel like just having these actual numbers in front of us is a little bit anxiety relieving for me, because I automatically went to bigger numbers in my head when I was trying to, do the math.
Yeah.
So having it broken down on that 5-year plan, it's showing us what the increments are going to look like, I think are
Right.
And so it helps reduce that anxiety. Like, we can face anything. We're going to have hard times. We can face anything together, but just having an idea what you're walking into is,
Now I can breathe through it.
Yeah.
A little better.
Right.
Glad y'all can.
Yeah.
We have to learn. We have to look at these numbers in order to plan our fundraisers. So, how aggressively do we have to get it?
I had the opposite impact. I saw that number of $1 million just impact it's like unbelievable. I didn't realize it was that much. That's how.
Yeah, and mind you, that'll be an annual. That's an annual reoccurring from that point forward. That's not a one-time payment that we got to make.
But it's broken down very nicely, so.
Well, it's very pretty.
Yep.
I'm glad.
You have any further questions? Because I got one more thing I want to run by y'all and only for knowledge, so y'all can give me some direction on these workshops. Y'all had asked in the past about the FP&L cost-saving energy efficiency that we went through. They now have some data and a presentation with that. I sent out an email. Overall, the indication was that y'all would like to do it at a workshop. Is everybody okay with that? Y'all are okay with doing the 5 o'clock workshops as we
Sure.
need it? Okay, so we'll schedule that one for a 5 o'clock upcoming workshop in the February, March timeframe.
So they can come do their presentation, we can ask our questions, and then if we have questions later, we can go.
That's right, yes. Yeah, they're open to whatever y'all want to do. It may be easier for them to do it one time to the board,
Yeah,
rather than
that's
doing 5, but they'll do individuals if that's what you want, so absolutely. Okay, we'll schedule that for an upcoming meeting then. That's all I need for now.
My special request would be, please, just if they can get their presentation to us before, because I like to read through it
Okay.
and then write down my potential questions. But when they're going through and they're talking electricity, that's not my lingo.
Right.
And so I have a chance to formulate some questions.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Collins will work on that and make sure we get that. All right, thank you very much.
All right, was there any further discussion on the impacts of minimum wage for the workshop? Good, all right. Then we are going to adjourn this workshop, and we'll be back for the regular meeting at 5:30.